when you're hiring, don't try and hire yourself all the time. Oftentimes roles require a very different personality type or a very different skill set, and that was a big aha moment for me. Every time you hire, look at what that role needs to be successful and focus on those characteristics. And that's not always a vibes hire. It's who's going to get the job done really, really well, and make sure you're clear on what the competencies are to get that job done. And obviously, are they nice people to work with? Yeah.
Marhaba, I'm Janan Farhat.
And I'm Derek Zeno from the Al-Qasimi Foundation.
Welcome to C-Suite Talks, a podcast about what it really means to lead.
We're talking to the people behind the titles to hear their stories, lessons, and a few surprises along the way.
Because leadership is more than just the corner office. It's personal. Our guest for today is Ana Batchelder, the CEO and co-founder of Bon Education, a UAE-based learning design company that has been shaping education and workforce readiness for over 15 years. Good afternoon, Ana. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me here.
Well, thank you for coming. Today we're actually at HCT in Ras Al Khaimah, which is the Higher Colleges of Technology. Mm-hmm. And we are in the middle of the Ras Al Khaimah Annual Teachers Network Symposium. So thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Ana, you co-founded Bon Education in the UAE in 2009, and as Chief Education Officer, you developed it into a go-to partner for governments, companies, foundations, and schools. Through three arms, Bon Studio, Bon for Work, and, of course, Bon Discovery League, your team creates hands-on programs that link young people with real careers. Between the programs you've developed for clients and Bon Education's own programs, your work has reached over 1 million learners. In addition, Bon Education has brought over 250 industry speakers and partners into classrooms via virtual talks, industry challenges, interview days, and competitions. Mm-hmm. Bon's client list includes organizations such as Google, Microsoft, Bank Muscat, Sunduq Al-Watan, Expo 2020 Dubai, and several other regional government entities. Guided by a clear promise to help youth become engaged, empowered, and employable, you keep one foot in the classroom and turn opportunity into outcomes for the next generation. Thank you so much for coming, Ana. And before we get started, I wanted to ask you a quick teaser question. So, of course, you played a pivotal role in helping the Al-Qasimi Foundation launch the Ras Al Khaimah Teachers Network, which we also call RACTN, all those years ago. So when you think back to those early days, what do you remember most about building this community? And what does it mean to see the network thriving here today?
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing to see how much the network has grown. I always love turning ideas into something concrete, like a community or a program. And I remember when Dr. Natasha came to me and said, hey, I want to do something to really help and elevate the teacher community in RAC. Why don't we work on a network together? It just started with the planting of a seed. And then the second thing is an invitation. And it was something like 30 or 40 teachers took a chance on, hey, come hang out with us on a Saturday. Let's start using digital tools in interesting ways so that we can enhance our lessons. That turned into a virtual network so that teachers could collaborate and communicate between the sessions. And it just grew from there. And I think, behind every good initiative are humans that care. And what's so fun for me now is to see some of the early teachers that were involved in, the initial cohort of teachers are now working at the foundation or very senior in their schools, sharing their learning. So, I guess I just have to say thank you to the foundation and Natasha for the invitation to be a part of the beginning.
Well, thank you for starting this wonderful initiative, and also thank you for being with us here today. And if I'm not mistaken, there's over 400 or 500 people, so that's absolutely incredible. This is beyond the hundreds, if not thousands, of teachers who are benefiting from the courses online. So you've had an incredible impact already. So let's go ahead and begin our 15-minute chat. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. Our first question is actually about your morning routine. So could you tell us a little bit about how you start the day? What time do you wake up, and how do you prepare yourself for the day ahead?
So the preparation for the day ahead usually starts the night before. I'm a person that thinks in calendars. That's both a benefit as well as an Achilles heel. But essentially, I'm also the PA to my 3 children. So usually the night before, I make a Post-it for all the work things I need to do. I make sure that my nanny has a really clear plan on who's getting where, and then in the morning I wake up early. The kids get themselves ready. They know to be by the door at 7. We drive them to school, and then I love sports and fitness. I have since I was 12, and I would go with my mom to fitness classes. So pretty much 7 days a week, the first thing I do in the morning is exercise. So I do a lot of yoga, bar, running, weightlifting. It just depends. And then I work from home if I'm not on client site. So I shower, and I'm usually starting work by 10 or so. And yeah, that's my morning.
Actually, I have a very important question for you. It's the most important question of the day on my list of questions to ask you, and that is, are you a tea or a coffee person? Very critical.
Coffee?
Coffee.
Yeah.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice.
Coffee.
How do you take your coffee?
I take it however my husband makes it. So, and I'm really sensitive to caffeine. So he takes these like Arabic coffee cups, and he gives me 2, and I drink them throughout the entire day.
I love that. Is there one non-negotiable habit that anchors your morning, no matter where you are in any country?
Yeah, I have a travel yoga mat, and I think I've done yoga in like 50 countries. So yeah, it goes with me wherever. Yeah.
That's actually really funny. I love that the constant companion is the travel yoga mat. That's great.
I think I could lose almost everything in my house, and I would be fine with it. I'm not really attached to items, but I do like having a mat.
Is it the same mat? Can I ask?
No.
Ah.
No, I've changed. One just on one trip just got totally destroyed, so I got a new one recently. It's great.
Oh, congratulations. Glad to hear that that the new mat is doing its job. All right. So just coming back to your career, looking back to 2009, was there a key moment that pushed you to go ahead and take the leap and start Bon Education? And maybe you can start by telling us what Bon means and why Bon Education.
Sure. Okay. So Bon comes from the Japanese word bonsai, which means container for growth. So in everything we do, we try and create containers of growth. The name came, I was with my co-founder in a museum in London, and there was an exhibit on how Japanese car design had been influenced by bonsai design. And we just walked out of there and we're like, Bon Education. We didn't overthink it. That's the name. And what was the moment that we decided to start Bon? Oh, I remember I was sitting in a desk in a job that I knew was not for me. And when I came here, I was hired to do some education work in a large entity, but it was 2008, which was the year of the financial crisis. So they put me in the real estate department, as you do if you have an economics degree. And I started doing real estate pricing models, which were not getting me out of bed every morning. I was doing them, but with no passion. And I remember a colleague asking me, he said, "What were you doing before coming here?" And I said, well, I was working at a company where we had developed an early literacy program that was being used by teachers for free in 180 countries to help people, especially in underserved communities, learn how to read. And he said, "Why did you leave that?" And I said, "Good question." Why did I leave that form of work? So relatively soon after, I said, you know what, I think it's time for me to go do something else. Set up Bon Education, honestly, as a container for my growth as well. Start a consultancy and start working on projects and go from there. And actually, I had a conversation with Natasha at that time. And I said, I'm thinking about starting a company. And she said, great, why don't you set it up in Rack? And that's what we did in 2009.
And was that the first business that you started?
That was the first business I had started. My partner had started a real estate company before, but before that he had worked in education as well as in arts.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, you became an entrepreneur and you started your own business at the age of 27. Based on your work experience, what do you think is the most underrated skill that helped you develop both like as an entrepreneur and also as a leader?
Probably coaching. I had an interesting request from a client to develop a parent coaching program and to help them create a lot of, and this was before I was a parent, so everything was super theoretical at that time. But I decided to get my coaching certification. And I think that has been a very useful toolkit, especially, when you start to grow an organization and work with lots of clients and people. The ability to work authentically as a leader and to bring out other people and the best of them is a really important tool or skill. And coaching is one of many useful tools to help that process.
Definitely. Time to switch gears. So for our new listeners, this is the Wheel of Questions, a fun segment where the wheel decides what we talk about next, whether it's hobbies or leadership quirks or even life beyond the office. So Anna, we're going to bring over our Wheel of Questions and give it a spin.
I like that sound. All right,
right,
7.
Question 7. Oof, tough talk. Could you tell us about a time you failed? How did you recover and what did you learn?
Yeah, I fail every day, all the time, but I can think back to a number of projects that trying to get off the ground and they just didn't work. One in particular, I remember our team really wanted to do a high-end career and industry discovery camp for kids where they were learning design and creativity, but in the context of a real workplace. And so we found a partner, we set it up, and we kind of advertised it, and not a single family or student applied. And when I look back on that, I think we got our pricing research wrong. We really underinvested in marketing. The market wasn't ready for that type of program at that time. But I had a little deck where I was explaining the idea to several people. And at the time, I just shared with a whole bunch of friends, hey, I'm doing this thing. What do you think of it? And what's interesting is even though that particular initiative was a total flop, 2 years later, one of the friends that I had sort of paraded this idea of a program to, she said, I'm starting a new university and we need to create a design and innovation program for students to get them interested in this field. Why don't you come set that program up with us? And off the back of that, we did 9 years of work together, working with over 20,000 students to, teach them design and innovation and have them work on real projects for companies. And that was an incredible collaboration. And so, I always tell our team, it's always important to be incubating ideas and doing skunkworks projects because even if they don't work now, they're the seed of something that could really work in the future. So at the time, I think we were kind of hard on ourselves for not getting that idea off the ground, but it did. And its time was 2 years later, and it very much got off the ground in a different modulation with a different partner. But it ended up working out.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see how sometimes you just need the right. You need the. How would I put this? I think maybe it depends on the season. Depends on the season for planting. And I love that an idea that didn't work at that point actually ended up working. And it's very interesting to see how it kind of germinated and came to life and flourished. So thank you for sharing. Can we take another
spin?
Another spin, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question beyond the job. So if you weren't leading Bond Education, what would you be doing instead?
This is so boring, but I would be doing the exact same thing for like a large foundation for sure. I've often thought, okay, maybe when I retire, I might go see if I can work in a foundation and do program development work in perhaps a different geography. Separate to that, I'm always thinking about businesses to start. I've always thought it would be fun to start a tea company or my partner and I were also talking about we may want to start a card decks company, like where, card decks to develop humans, something like that. So I don't know. We might be starting a few more businesses in future.
Did you say a tea company?
A tea company or a stationery company or a human development products company. Yeah.
Are you sure you're a coffee person, Anna?
Well, the thing about tea is that I actually don't care about it that much. And I think when you don't care about the product that much, then it becomes about the branding and the experience and the, the business. And I mean, I'm sure if I started a tea company, I would all of a sudden care about tea a lot. But as an exercise in growing something that has so many elements, right? Like the tea company, like where are you sourcing your tea? Is it ethically sourced? Are the people in my company, do they feel like they have a good place to work every day? Like that would be really fascinating as well.
Yeah. Well, if you ever, I'm not the biggest tea drinker myself. I'm more of a coffee person. But if you ever do end up starting that card deck company or launching a new product, please let me know. I'd love to buy one.
Okay, that might be this year.
I'm a board.
We've been talking about prototyping them. You like
I
cards?
love card decks. I love card decks, and I also love board games. So count me in if you ever start anything like that. I think we can do another spin.
I'm getting dizzy looking at this. Okay.
All right. What's the best piece of career advice you've ever been given?
I can think of two. One, when I started graduate school, it was at Columbia University, someone said to me, no one's ever going to ask your grades when you leave here. Focus on building relationships. That was a really good piece of advice. I mean, I did get pretty decent grades. I got good grades, actually. But like relationships make life super satisfying, one, and they're the heartbeat of business and projects. And I think that was really good advice. So whenever I hire people into our company, I always say business happens through relationships, and you need to take relationships very seriously. So that's one lesson. And then another important lesson I learned is when you're hiring, don't try and hire yourself all the time. Oftentimes roles require very different personality type or a very different skill set. And I remember I was hiring for a role, this was over a decade ago, and I was not getting it right. And a friend in HR said to me, you know why? Because you're trying to hire yourself. And actually this role requires the complete opposite. Like you're a big picture relationships person, and you actually need someone that's probably an introvert and highly into the details and very happy with a highly repetitive job. And that was a big aha moment for me, every time you hire, look at what that role needs to be successful and focus on those characteristics. And that's not always a vibes hire. Mm-hmm. It's, who's going to get the job done really, really well. And make sure you're clear on what the competencies are to get that job done. And obviously, are they nice people to work with? Yeah.
Of course. Spoken like someone who's been leading a business for quite a long time. Yeah. Would you add any particular advice to those two pieces of advice you just mentioned to a graduate starting a new internship or an entry-level job in 2025? How would you kind of twist would you add?
Sure. My advice for new graduates is something I also heard on a podcast, but the best interview for your next job is how you do in your current job. So do a really, really good job. Try your best. Build relationships for sure. And then also really understand value creation. I think the people that will kind of constantly have jobs or create companies that serve the world are people that are focused on value creation. And that is not a puff piece. So, I'm always trying to tell young people quickly, what is this really about? We always have this question in our company. Ask yourself, when you're ever asked to do something, what is this really about? Get to the heart of what is needed and start from there, because that's often where the value creation is. And that's a skill, right? You have to learn how to create value.
Yeah. What is the bigger picture behind the task? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. All right. Anna, Bonn Education has spent more than 15 years shaping programs that prepare young people and professionals for the future of work. Before we wrap up, when you think about the future of learning in this region, what do you hope Bonn Education will be remembered for 20 years down the line?
Helping educators and young people feel really empowered. This is similar to the panel that we just spoke on, but what does empowerment mean? Mm-hmm. It means you understand yourself, you understand the world, and you understand how to find your place in it, and to turn your ideas into reality. And that doesn't have to be big, massive ideas. It could even be the way you want to behave and create energy in your home with your children or your siblings. So in everything we do, we try and empower people and help give them the tools to be empowered. And if we take a small step in that direction, I hope we're doing our job well. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, at its heart, Bon has always stood for creating opportunity, embracing responsibility, and building prosperity. And I think that's actually the commitment of the company. And it's not just for individuals. It's beyond that. It's also for communities. Thank you so much, Anna, for showing us how education can spark possibility and also shape a brighter future for learners and students everywhere. But thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. And of course, for joining our panel earlier today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on C-Suite Talks, where we bring global and local insights from the heart of Ras Al Khaimah to the world.
Be sure to follow, share, and tune in next time for another 15-minute conversation about what it really takes to lead.